As we near the end of 2022 and we think back over the last few years of crypto, has anyone learned anything? Anyway, these are my reflections from the 2021 bull market. There's no 100% agreed on definition of when the bull market exactly started, but I tend to think it's when Bitcoin broke its previous all-time high and right around the end of 2020. When Bitcoin broke its previous all-time high of 20K, it removed the psychological barrier to the market. Many people thought that Bitcoin would never be worth that much money again. And when they were proven wrong, that feeling that Bitcoin could never hit 20K again was replaced with one emotion: FOMO. The fear of missing out on the next big thing. And the Bitcoin hype cycle exploded with nearly 3 months of nothing but positive price action. But the weird thing is, when Bitcoin was pumping, the rest of the market didn't really keep up. Bitcoin broke its all-time high on December 20th, approximately, of 2020. But Ethereum wouldn't break its all-time high until nearly 2 weeks later, January 8th. When people felt like they missed Bitcoin's explosive motion upwards, they did the next best thing, buying into all of the different alts. There was about a 10-month period, the 7 months leading up to and the 3 months during the actual bull run, where basically everyone who bought anything made money. And this is the first big lesson from the 2021 bull market. Everybody makes money, but not everybody gets to keep it. The level of mass delusion that everyone was experiencing as they made life-changing amounts of money can't be overstated. I don't know if you've ever been to a cryptocurrency conference, but I've been to quite a few at this point, with the price of entry being anywhere from $600 to $4,000. Hotel, flight, food, Ubers not included. And during the bull market, at these conferences, everyone was a genius investor who understood the market and what was happening. The level of success everyone was experiencing rendered them so blind to every major warning signal that was on the horizon. Every new project was raking in tens of millions of dollars, and the devs couldn't even tell you what they were going to make. I mean, they could say the buzzwords, decentralized, DAO, permissionless, but when it came down to actually trying to pitch their implementation, they'd have $30 million and not a single clue. And this is why so many projects in crypto die. They are created in the hype cycle of the bull markets, but without a specific plan, a real definitive game plan for implementation, they simply wither away and run out of funding over the 4 to 5 year bear market. That is to say, the real reason projects die is because a lot of them weren't ever really alive to begin with. It was just a couple of guys who said some buzzwords and had $30 million. There hasn't been enough time since the 2021 bull market to really see which projects aren't going to make it long term. So we're going to reference a couple of 2017 projects instead. You ever wonder what happened to DentaCoin? Yeah, DentaCoin. You know, they were worth like $1.6 billion at the 2017 peak. What do you think their market cap is right now? It's $2 million. It's literally $2 million. A project that was worth $1.6 billion at one point can no longer afford a decent-sized house in California, or London, or Vermont, or West Virginia. Oh dear God, what is happening to the housing market? That's probably nothing. Extrabytes, Bounty 0x, BitDegree, all projects which had massive hype around them and hit 100 million, if not billion-dollar market caps back in 2017 when billion-dollar market caps were pretty huge. And today, they're dead. They're just dead. So whatever happened to these projects? That's the wrong question to ask. We need to understand that the only real thing that ever happened to any of these projects is that they managed to hit a market cap of hundreds of millions of dollars without having a product at all. Furthermore, none of these projects are scams. The DentaCoin guys are still putting out blogs 4 or 5 times a year with updates on their progress. None of these projects did anything wrong. They just tried to make a product with lofty, nigh unattainable goals in mind. The money that these people made during the upswing of the bull market caused them to become so delusional that they were giving $1 billion to fuck DentaCoin. So I'm editing the video right now, and I want to make a slight clarification. When I say that these projects were given hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't mean that the dev teams actually received that much money. What I mean is that investors kept buying these tokens until their market caps were hundreds of millions of dollars. And the dev teams who gave themselves plenty of their own token during the ICO would then dump those tokens in order to cash out. And it's not just the investors that were delusional. DAOs were also totally delusional during this period as well. Which brings us to our next point. The bull market hysteria also meant that cryptocurrency companies could start marketing insane, terrible economic practices, calling them the new paradigm, and everybody would buy in. And the economic practice that was the most common, most used, most awful of them all was liquidity mining. And everybody did it. Everybody did it. I'm not 100% certain which DEX or protocol implemented liquidity mining rewards first, but I think it was IDEX. The reason liquidity mining rewards even exist is because of how hyper-competitive crypto is as a market. Larger DEXs were beginning to monopolize nearly all of the liquidity in the space, and smaller DEXs couldn't ever get traction in the form of liquidity to begin to compete. And at some point, someone, or some DAO, decided they were just going to print their own token to bribe users into depositing on their platform. And it worked. It turns out that people love being bribed. The absolutely massive amount of hype that was generated on crypto Twitter when people would advertise your DEX as having 20 to 40% APR made it very easy to justify this as a marketing expense. And I was certainly guilty of this, and that's how I viewed liquidity mining rewards at the time. It was a marketing expense to be paid in exchange for hundreds of millions of dollars of liquidity entering the platform. But then the obvious started happening. Some other DEX began offering 21% APR, and then another began offering 22%, and then 25%, and then 50%, and then 500%, and then perhaps the most famous or infamous of all of these is Olympus DAO, who is offering 8,000%. But rather than being laughed at, Olympus DAO exploded in popularity. You could not go on crypto Twitter without seeing a million mentions an hour of Olympus DAO. Hundreds of thousands of people joining Twitter spaces just to hear Zeus talk. No amount of inflation could stop the hype train from pumping Olympus DAO ever higher until it hit $1,200. And then the Bitcoin dip happened and it crashed down to 200. But it didn't stop there, going back to $1,300 a token. I want to take a second here to say that I'm not really criticizing Olympus DAO as a product. I'm criticizing their inflationary practices. And I'm not singling them out in this. Everyone did this. Olympus DAO was just one of the most extreme cases. Every protocol that engaged in liquidity mining paid the cost. Their most faithful users, their most loyal followers, their biggest bag holders, if you will, were the ones who ended up losing the most. The users that were most active in governance, with the most governance tokens, were the ones who were the biggest losers. Ohm is now $10 a token. Bancor, which peaked at $10, is now 50 cents a token. It didn't happen overnight, but all of these projects felt the pain of inflating their token by somewhere between 50 and 8,000%. The real lesson here is that liquidity mining doesn't create real value. You can't just take a pizza which has 8 slices and cut that pizza up into 800 slices and pretend that each slice is worth the same amount. You didn't actually create more pizza, you just made the slices worth less. But that isn't to say that liquidity mining is bad for all users. In fact, for many users it was extremely lucrative. And honestly, this is how I made a lot of my money. I would find a decentralized exchange that was offering liquidity mining rewards for stable pairs or sometimes stable ETH pairs, and I would just deposit my capital there. And then they would give me their token as a reward for doing so. And then I would sell everything they gave me the moment that I got it. And I made a lot of money like this. And every dollar that I made by doing this came out of the pockets of long-term bag holders and governance users of those protocols, Bancor included. If I was going to do this next bull run, and I certainly plan to, I wouldn't buy any token that has liquidity mining rewards as an incentive. But I will be buying and staking tokens on the platforms that do offer these liquidity mining rewards. And yes, I will, in an act of zero brand loyalty, sell every single thing that they give me. And the Bancor DAO learned this the hard way. And there are other videos on this channel that detail the damage that liquidity mining did to Bancor. And because of this, I don't think I will ever support a token that does liquidity mining rewards. And not just for Bancor, for any project that I'm involved with. I don't think I would ever support liquidity mining rewards again. And I urge other DAOs to stop liquidity mining rewards as a process, and not to start them. The next big lesson is that no project is too big to fail. Terra Luna, now Luna Classic, and UST, at their all-time high, were worth a combined $60 billion. Banks and investment companies might get bailouts by governments, but crypto projects don't. And while scam projects fail, no matter how big they are, the 2021 bull market showed us that legitimate projects carry on no matter what happens. And the two projects that embody that the most are Bancor and Thorchain. For those who don't know, Thorchain didn't just get hacked one time in 2021. They got hacked 3 times in the same month. Bancor didn't ever get hacked, but it did take on millions of dollars in debt that it owes to its liquidity providers. And it's still going strong despite the setbacks. At the peak of bull market hysteria and delusion, everyone was treating Luna Classic and UST as an infinite money glitch, making them millions of dollars that was life-changing and permanent. And at the bottom of bear market despair, people are saying Bancor is dead. And both of these notions are wrong, for basically the same reason. The amount of money you can make in crypto and lose makes everyone, no matter how logical or in control of their emotions they think they might be, extremely susceptible to both the mania of a hype cycle and the depression of the bear market. The confidence that people feel is backwards. When Bitcoin is worth $60,000, everyone feels like a genius, when they should be feeling afraid because they have the most to lose. And when the market's been in the red for 4 months and everything feels like it's at the bottom, that's when they should feel the most confident that they have the ability to buy for cheap. But it's the exact opposite every time. It's the exact opposite. And those are the 4 major takeaways that I had from the 2021 bull market. Everybody makes money. Don't let it get to your head. Liquidity mining rewards are totally cursed. No project is too big to fail, and real projects never stop developing. But there's always more to learn. So leave a comment with the major takeaways you had from the 2021 bull market. I'd be genuinely interested.